Inktober Tanglers. I'm Annie, and I'd like to welcome you to my days 11 and 12 for Inktober Tangles 2022. Day 11 is the Tangle Braven's Sword by Debbie New, CZT, and day 12 is Sock, I think that's how you pronounce it, by Erin Olson. Both are lovely tangles, and I'm going to combine them again so that I have only one tile for my little mini book. I need always to combine, or else I will have too many tiles for my custom-made book cover. Anyway, today we're going to be using a colored background again. I use, I believe, actually the Distress Ink Oxides on this tile, also from Ranger. And I'm just grabbing the colored pencils in my box that are tone and tone, like the background, that we can use for shading. I've got a graphite pencil, a white colored pencil for highlights, and then of course my Sakura pen 01 from Micron pen. I am going to make a, I guess I don't really need to make a string for this because we're gonna, we would have to ink it out anyway. So let's begin by making a border, and we're gonna go for it in ink. I know we usually do our border in pencil in the traditional tiles, but we will be using this border as part of our design, so might as well just start right out with ink. We're going to start out with day 12's tangle. That's going to be the base of our design here, and it's a gridded pattern that's very similar to the pattern bales from Zen-tangle. And I did a tutorial on bales with a similar project as this flower here. And you can see the bales is a grid that we then build up with these seed shapes or rice shapes around those grid lines. This is just showing you a different perspective of that. But here you can very clearly see that we just take the diamond, or I mean the square of the grid, and make these rice shapes on each of those lines. And that's the basic principle of this tangle, except there is a really great twist that makes it irregular and even more organic. And you'll see what I mean. We are going to divide our tile, instead of into the whole thing as a grid, we're only going to make like an L. I'm going to make this into sort of a regular grid. Some of these are smaller than others. It's more narrow, that is. Let's do this one about the same, and this one, two more narrow ones. And the nice thing about this, now we're going to break those boxes by putting irregular lines. They can also be at a diagonal. I might do one here like this, leave that one alone. And let's do one going this way. And that's just all very arbitrary. We're just breaking up those squares, rectangles, and we're leaving some. So on this, instead of making the rice shape on all sides first, using that line as the center around which to make that shape, we're going to take the inside. Let's try this big one here so you can see it really well. We're going to take the inside of this and just do a half of a rice shape, or a half of a seed. So it's more like a C shape, or an inverted C shape, or as I say, it looks almost like curtains, right? And then we're just going to keep orating that, starting from the corner and bowing out and going back into the corner. And I like to actually keep my pen, I'm not picking it up, I'm just going into the corner, that repetitive stroke, and it's very meditative. And you go as far as you can go, and then you fill that in black. Now let's see what happens when we have a shape like this. So we started already a seed shape here, so we're going to put the other side as far as we can go on here. And you can pick up your pen if that makes you feel more comfortable. I just think it's kind of fun to leave it down, just like I make my paradox. Always pinching the top and the bottom of this little, I call them tufts. You'll see when we're finished why I say that. It's a very easy tangle, but makes such a dramatic and very complicated looking design. What's nice about this pattern also is it's got that built-in thick and thin line. You almost don't even have to add it. Now here you see we have two tiny tufts, but we have one long edge. And this is the only thing that got me a little confused. What do I do here? I'm not going to make two tiny tufts. Remember, I'm going to treat this as its own entity. So I'm going to make this one long tuft. And so you see what happens. They kind of get nested within each other. Again, treating this triangle as its own entity. And then I am going to add another corner here just to give this a little bit more of that 1/3, 2/3 compositional form. So here we go. And we're going to come back. Well, actually, we are going to ink this out right away. I am going to, rather than keep this straight edge here, I am going to build the seed just with one stroke on the side of those really sharp edges, matching the seed given. Okay, now we're ready for our next tangle, and the next tangle is Brave and Sword, and I wanted to show you the basic tangle itself. There are many, many variations, and I would like to encourage you to go to the official tangle list and click on the live link to the step out and all of its variations, because it is really, you can do so many different things with it. And it's a wonderful, wonderful story by Debbie New about her dear friend. And I'm not going to disclose what that is, but it has to do with the number 69. And this is how I remember the tangle, how to do it, the step out. So it starts, this is just the basic tangle. It starts with a circle, and then you drive her from the bottom of the circle up around, and then make a kind of a narrow 6. Or flat 6, and then you go down here, leaving space between the dots, and do the same thing but with a narrow 9. So here's that 69. Then you attach those two elements and build the rest of the tangle with this lovely S curve, inverted S curve, and makes almost like a leaf shape. And that is the tangle, basically. We're going to do that plus a little bit of a variation to create a little flower growing out of our tufts here. So we're going to do the 2 leaves going this way and then the one this way. Not leaves, they're more petals. So let's give ourselves enough room. I'm going to make, instead of just a circle, I'm also going to vary this by making it a spiral, like a printemps. I'm going to take off and make our 6, and here, whoops, and take off and make our 9. So here's our 69. Join the 2. And then we're going to do a half of that pattern here. And our spiral is going to be, oh, kind of like making an equilateral triangle in there with our spirals. And here is our 6 going up as far as we can, and then coming back down and crossing over that center point. And then I'm coming back down here like that. So isn't that a pretty little flower? I love it. And what I like to do to make this look even more three-dimensional, I'm going to beef up some of this just to give it a little bit more form, and a highlight, which is always nice, kind of making it look almost like a ribbon. We do this with fescues often, if we want to make them very prominent. And then I'm going to do that down here as well. Just make the stem look like it's, I'm going to fill the whole stem in the same color. No highlight there. I think this would look really good with an aura line overall. That'll really set this off as its own element. But I'm not going to aura the stem. I'm just auraing the petals to make them look like they belong together as one flower. A fantasy flower, right? And then we can loosen this up with some fescues. I'm crazy for fescues and mucas. So that's enough. I'm going to leave it there, and now we're going to get on to the most fun part of our tile, and that is the shading. Okay, so this has got kind of a green-blue tone to it, and this is about the same color, but as you see, it doesn't have enough contrast to give it any shading. So I'm going to go to the next darkest color that I pulled, which is this one, and it's going to really help those center tufts pop. I'm going to put it on either side of the pointed edges, creating a natural highlight, lightness in the center. This one's overlapping, so I'm putting some graphite there, or graphite, it's colored pencil. So this part of the tile has a little bit of purple in it. I'm going to have to run and get something that will be good for that. So the colors I originally showed you in the beginning did not include these two colors that are going to pick up the purples in this part of the tile. I had been using the blues from another tile that I did here, and did the whole demonstration only to see that I had not hit record. I don't know if my colleagues have that problem, but I have done that several times. And yeah, Anyway, so I had to run up and get 2 more colored pencils that kind of match this part of my tile. I'm going to start with the lighter one, which is just like a purple. Okay, now let's see if we need a little more purple grape. I love the purple grape and the black cherry. No, this is black grape. I love the black grape and the black cherry from Prismacolor. I pray they never stop making it. And then we can go over the top of that in some cases just to kind of blend, or you can use your solvent blender. I'm using the white to do some blending here. Remember, we're burnishing down that surface so that the graininess of the colored pencil does not show. See how that just kind of disappears, making it almost look like a watercolor. Of course, you can use your solvent blender or a colorless blender pencil. White does give it a bit of a tint, which is okay in this case for me. So now I'm going back in with my white colored pencil in that center where the light would be hitting this bulging tuft or petal or whatever you want to call this, puffed rice, and add some highlights. And I'm doing this with the colored pencil because I found that often the General's charcoal pencil, which I love, does not go over the colored pencil very well. It just doesn't show up. So that's when you need to get your actual colored pencil white out to make these highlights on top of the colored pencil. Okay, and then we have some shading in here to do. Let's see, this is a little bit of the purple. I'm going to give that a nice deep dark purple edge and some around this little printemps. That needs to be more purple. Might have to use my solvent blender for this one. And it could be a little bit more blue. Because it's going into this blue here and here. It's always a little tricky to shade these tiles with colored pencil when there's so many different transitions of the colors in them. Down here, for example, I get some darks going just to emphasize that kind of crevice. This is why I like to pick up the colors from here and bring them over on this side of the tile, even though they weren't there. Just kind of balances out the colors. And same here, let's put a little bit more, let's get a more of a transition here by adding a little bit of the grape on this side, just to pull them together. It doesn't have to be everywhere, but just like the way we made the tile, it's very organic and natural. I'm going to use the solvent blender on this, staying away from the black ink, of course, as much as I can, and just kind of hitting it up. This is a very grainy tile. It's a Zentangle tile that I cut down. And it really shows the tooth of the paper if you don't burnish it with the solvent. Always remember to clean, clean, clean until you get your solvent clear. Even though the tip will look terrible at times, there's no pigment on there left. So not that will be picked up on the tile. So there is, well, needing still a little bit of highlight in here. Let's put some on these little shimmers. A little bit on the print top. And I would say, let's call that finished. You can get our chop on there somewhere. And I want to show you a couple of the other samples that I did. Here was the blue one, of course, that I did not record, but meant to. And then my first sample was this green one, which I really like because I also did one of those kind of irregular borders on the outside. And here I did a few really beefed up fescues that go along nicely with the flower here. So those are some inspirations for you to follow, and I hope that you do try that out and post your results on my Annie's Botangle alumni Facebook page. And I want you to check that out because I am going to be going tomorrow morning for a few days, like 5 days I'm going to be gone, to a weekend retreat in Pennsylvania with Mary Rose Feldman, CZT. She is the owner and creator of Sentimental Gifts and a wonderful teacher and tangler and artist. So I'm looking forward to meeting several of my tangle buddies there and learning some new things that I can bring back to you and share in my tutorials. But I will be posting photos from what we're doing and my trip. So have a look at the Annie's Botangle alumni Facebook page. And I will see you when I get back. I know I'm going to be going into November with my Inktober Tangles since I started so late. But that's okay. I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye for now. That's it for today's Tangle. Thanks for joining me. If you like these lunchtime tutorials, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to check out my website for classes that I have scheduled or to purchase my Tangle tags for your favorite step outs. That's botangle.net. I'm leaving you with some other links too. Zentangle.com, where you can learn more about the Zentangle method from its founders, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. You can also visit their store there for a multitude of Zentangle paper tiles, tools, books, and kits. TanglePatterns.com is that site I talk about where you can explore hundreds of tangle patterns, read about them, and get the step out, which is basically the deconstruction of the pattern. And finally, if you'd like to share your beautiful results with me and my student community, please join Annie's Botangle alumni Facebook page. We're a private group where we inspire each other with our work and offer tips and useful information about art and Zentangle. Bye for now.